Welcome back to Keep It On The Down Low. We are continuing the conversation with our mental health series. This is part 2 of the discussion that we had last week.
Yeah, so we said we was going to discuss the differences of anxiety, depression, so I think we should just go straight into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So anxiety is, as we said last week, it's affecting 8.2 million people in the UK.
I've got it right now.
This moment?
Yeah, that's right, this moment, yeah. Breathe.
So some of the symptoms, you'll be able to tick this off then. Yeah. Excessive worry?
Very much so, yeah.
Restlessness?
Yeah, not sleeping, insomnia. But it's also, I find it hard to breathe as well. Like, I really have to take deep breaths sometimes when I get it. It's a feeling that, you know, it's a physical feeling, anxiety. It really does take over your whole body, where I do, and I think a lot of people who suffer with it do find it hard to breathe, and it's so important to
Have you done some breath work in the past?
I've done breath work, I've done yoga, I've done meditation, but sometimes even when I'm meditating and I've got anxiety, I can't switch off from it, and it's so difficult.
Have you ever tried any grounding theories, which is kind of what we use with patients? Is you trigger all your senses. So obviously anxiety, you're thinking into the future, you're thinking of your possibilities. You try and ground. So sometimes people like to put their hands in ice because it takes them back to a natural state. And then you list 5 things you can see, things you can hear, anything you can smell, touch obviously if your hands are in ice, or touch wherever you are, or say you're on a yoga mat, just touching the ground, and how you feel as well, acknowledging how you feel. Okay, right now my breathing's quite rapid, I need to slow this down. Obviously deep breaths in, out. Some people like their arms being strokes, bring some back in. So these are things, but that's some grounding techniques.
It's a weird one as well though. Sometimes I get anxiety when everything's going well, and I don't know what it is. I'm thinking, why am I feeling like this? Why is my heart rate going faster? Why do I feel like this? And that takes a lot of work sometimes for me to figure it out, like it's a physical symptom rather than...
Is it because it's an unknown feeling, so
you're
not sure?
Oh no,
it's out of your comfort sort of thing. Some people actually have this space where they are comfortable with, and it's not necessarily the optimal zone for them functioning, but they're comfortable with it because it's routine, they know it.
Sometimes I think maybe it's something that is deep rooted in me that I've not dealt with, and it's there in the back of my mind, not at the forefront of my mind. So I've got this anxiety, and I'm like, what is it? What's going on in here? And I really have to sort of try and change my environment around me to take myself out of that and make myself feel better.
Yeah. Trouble concentrating?
No, I'm a good concentrator.
Yeah, I was going to say with your job.
With my job, I have to really concentrate.
Feeling fatigue?
Yeah, but it definitely there's a lethargy when you have anxiety. Oh, actually, there is a lethargy, but I do get agitated, so everything's quite quick. I need to sort of shake it off almost.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my other irritability.
I say irritability more than lethargy or feeling tired.
Sleep disturbances, you discussed
Definitely
that.
Sleep disturbances.
Muscle tension, do you feel like upper stiff, or you feel like... Oh.
Yes, very... my body sort of goes a little bit, like you said, a bit tense. I also find that when I get anxiety, I lose weight, whereas I think that some people tend to gain weight when they have anxiety only because of the cortisol levels rise. Like your fight or flight comes on, and because the cortisol rise, it's a hard, not a hard place to be in, but it's
physiological state. It's not great for
because of the cortisol, it's sort of your adrenals and everything, so your insulin. But for me, it's the other way around. Like my metabolism seems to
kind of running on nervous energy.
Exactly, nervous energy, and it's that's been a huge thing in my life, especially in the past when I've suffered with anxiety.
So you need the criteria for diagnosis for that is experiencing the symptoms for 6 months, but which cause you distress to your life. Because some people might have excessive worry and daily sleep disturbances, but it's not dysfunctional to their life.
Yeah. I found this is hard to talk about, but I found with mine, I got misdiagnosed. I was told I had postnatal depression the first time that I was going through this, and I did get help quite quickly. It was an anxiety disorder at the time, so basically I'd had Lexi, who's now 9, and the overwhelming feeling of anxiety I had around the newborn, and we had problems with her feeding, and I was so obsessed to the point where, you know, I had to get her feedings in on the schedule that, you know, so she'd get to bed at a certain time. There had to be this feeding schedule, and because she wouldn't take the breast, the bottle, she wouldn't drink, she would scream for hours at the bottle. I'd be taken to see the health visitor a couple of times a week. She was going up on her weight. I was crying constantly. It got to a point where I was taken to hospital 2 days before I was due to go back to Hollyoaks from my maternity leave, because it was so bad. The feelings that I had, the doctors had me on antidepressants which were making the anxiety worse. I was on beta blockers as well, which I don't even think helped. And I was just so in like a black hole that I was lost. I didn't want to be here anymore. It was so hard.
Have you ever had a diagnosis prior to that for anxiety?
No, because I'd never had it before then. But what did help, part of me looks back and I think, I did go back to work really early, but looking back, what did help was my job and the people around me. I was getting panic attacks, like constant panic attacks, and my first day back I had a panic attack, and one of my lovely co-stars picked me up off the floor, and I just kept going. But putting on, you know, Cindy's clothes and Cindy's shoes, and I had to do a lot of comedy scenes at the time, taking myself out of my own life and putting myself into her shoes just for a day actually really helped. And
how many people do you think wear that mask? You're a professional actress, but how many people actually walk around and put on that mask? We see a lot of people smiling, photos, and we always have that phrase of, I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed they were depressed.
But it's, like I said, I didn't have depression. It was the anxiety. Sometimes that is hard to mask because there are a lot of physical symptoms, and it hurts as well. Like like I said, with the breathing and everything. I felt what helped me and what helped me get over it was having Lexi's dad. He was amazing. He stayed at home with Lexi, and he took over. I would never let him take over because I had to be in control, and he took over, and I had to let go of that control and also give myself a new routine, which was my work, and then come home and be the mum. And it got less and less and less, and the anxiety slowly left my body.
Well, every day that you were trusting him with this, and he was...
I'd be phoning every 5 minutes, a shed of feed, you know, no, I'm just doing it now. We'd have to drive her in the car, so she was half asleep, to put the bottle in her mouth so she'd feed, or have it in the night garden or on the telly. I'll put the bottle in now, I'm getting it in, don't wake her up. You know, it was difficult, and I've not really talked hugely about this experience before, but I think it's important, especially I think to new mums as well who might be going through the same thing. I think the tools that I got from it was I just breathe, just take yourself out of a normal routine, let someone help, let someone come in and help, whether it's a grandparent or a sibling, or you can just get someone to, you know, put them in nursery or anything, just to take some of the pressure off.
If the environment's not working, you need to change it.
You need to change the environment.
And also, don't accept a misdiagnosis if you don't feel like that diagnosis fits your symptoms.
I didn't know it was a misdiagnosis until a few years later, when I realised that, because I'd got anxiety again from a different situation, and I was like, this is exactly what I felt back then. And the panic attacks came back, and I went to the doctors for that, and that's what it was. It wasn't. I've had depression before, where it's been a slow. It's a slow burner, where you felt depressed, but I've never felt to the point of where I've not wanted to be here. I've always felt that I could cope, but I felt down.
So if we look at some of the symptoms of depression, which are different to anxiety, so like you said, depressed mood, lack of interest.
Yeah.
Again, you can have trouble sleeping, decrease in appetite, slowing of movement.
Yeah, all of those I experienced.
Lack of energy, feelings of guilt.
Oh, massive feelings of guilt.
Worthlessness.
I think the worthlessness was probably the top one. Like, no one cares. Like, I don't love myself. Like, and the thing is, everything around me, everyone's like, oh my God, Steph, you've got this, you've got this amazing job, and you've got these beautiful kids, and you've got this, that, and the other. But you don't see it.
I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but you've led on to it perfectly. I think that is one of the worst phrases people can say to someone depressed. What have you got to be depressed about?
Yeah.
I think it is so sort of dismissive, it's not acknowledging, it's a bit selfish. I think one of the best things that you can do is someone discloses those feelings to you is validate their feelings. Like, I think validation is massive.
Or get over it. I've had that one before. I'll just get over it. Like, you're fine. Like,
have a good night's sleep. You'll
it's
tomorrow.
It's.
But that makes you shut off even more, because if someone's dismissive to you and they don't validate, you then think there's something more wrong with me then, because they're saying they wouldn't be feeling like this, and they don't understand why I would be depressed, and it's a bit of a vicious cycle then, because you hide it even more, which then you lack more interest. Then you might have suicidal beliefs, ideas, engaging in self-harming behaviour, all of these sort of things, because you're isolating yourself, and the root cause of your problem, you're still left stuck of what it is, because you have no outlook to reach to.
I think as well, loneliness is a massive trigger for depression and anxiety as well. I know I've felt it. Right now in my life, I am on my own, but I don't feel lonely anymore. I don't feel that way, but I had for years felt very lonely, and I just wanted someone in my life, and it's I think it's a broad spectrum of people who are lonely, who don't have someone who or just wants to be loved, and they always think, what is wrong with me? You always put, what is wrong with me? Why doesn't someone love me? Why doesn't someone want to be with me? Or I think it's a huge thing.
I think I've had the feelings of lonely when we lost Ben, and the flip side of my family changed, and I had to start doing all these really grown-up things, like planning a funeral service and things I didn't want to even acknowledge, and go to work. And then my gran died in the same week. Then I lost my boyfriend, not by death, he broke up with me. Sorry, actually, I broke up with him, but for his wrongdoing. And you got all these losses in one hit, and you think,
how could you even cope with that? Like,
honestly, I don't know how I did. And
you're such a strong individual, and I think it does take a lot of strength. And this has only been a year.
Yeah, it kills me, because I look at my family and I think, are you ever going to be truly happy again?
Do you wear the mask?
I guess I have to, because it's kind of my job to be this person for other people. But has it changed me? 100% massively. On the one flip side, I would have done anything to get the career I wanted. I know where I want to go. I would happily have sacrificed having children and having that to get where I wanted to go, because I know what I want to do and I know that I depend on me. But then standing there doing a service and speaking, you don't mention someone's job. You mention all the people's lives that affected. You mention how much you're going to miss them. You mention how much, like, all these memories you've got, and I think family is the most important thing. Why would I ever give that up? I don't understand why I would. So it changed me in that regard. But on the other side, I, obviously with my family as well, we had each other, like, unbelievable, and we, to be honest, use a lot of humour as a coping mechanism, and we're very, very close. But I think to have that much loss in one hit, this world that I'd built, which everyone used to be like, how do you get up at 5:30 in the morning, go gym, and then work all day, and then go back and meal prep and go and do this and have a social life? Do you have more hours in the day than everyone else?
I suppose it's good to be busy though as well.
Yeah, so I'd gone from that to, oh my god, things have changed. A lot of things have changed. Like, I don't know if I even like psychology anymore. How am I going to help people? Like, when I would hear their stories, and I would honestly want to break down crying, because I could feel like the level of empathy that I have now for these people is so much. But you have to be so, we have this thing where, you know, they can tell you all about them, but you're kind of not human to them. You're just a listener. You're more sort of listening to it analytically and listening to, well, what triggers, what are predisposing factors, what are factors which are still affecting this, what are the protective factors. You're listening to it like a bit robotic. Whereas when people come in and they talk about maybe family members who they've seen get shot, or a family member who's committed suicide, and I think the grand scheme of how that must have affected your life is massive, and now I understand it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, but yeah, we were discussing the differences between anxiety and depression, and obviously they're very interlinked, which means they often get misdiagnosed, but they do actually go hand in hand. So that's the problem. You often do find, you know, 50% of people diagnosed with anxiety suffer from depression, and vice versa. We don't know which is first, the chicken or the egg. But 50% is quite a huge amount, and obviously people maybe go down the route of therapy, try some CBT, it's quite effective, or they've got DBT out now, journaling, a lot of lifestyle medicines coming in, so just your exercise and
that's
food is a massive thing for inflammation.
I think for me is exercise has been the best tool I've found as a passion for my mental health, not just my physical health but my mental health. Like it's the endorphins, it makes me feel good. I feel good that I've done something for my body, and it's self-love.
I agree. Like, people say like, oh, but why do you go to the gym a lot? Sometimes I am there to make gains, and I want to have like an upbeat session, I want to do it. And sometimes I'm there because there's been a suicide at work and my head has gone, and if I go home I'm just going to sit in my room and mull it over. That's
changed for me as well. Like when I first started in the gym, it was to change my body out, like how it looked.
Aesthetics,
aesthetics. Now I go in there for two reasons. You know, obviously I want to keep up with what I'm doing, but it's for my mind. It is more so now for my mind, because I feel bloody good when I've finished it. So what is this exercise you've got for me? Yeah, so I've got an exercise written down. So this is about restructuring negative self-talk. Okay. Because I think a lot of people, effects of social media, you know, we get young girls come in and they'll get ready and they'll feel good. And then there's been studies on it. So they had, I'll link the research as well, so they had a group of young girls aged between 16 to 21, and what they did was they got them to remove their social media for 4 weeks. So they would get ready as normal, go about the day, rate their levels of attractiveness, self-worth, confidence, overall happiness, well-being, and they would get people to stay on social media and do their own thing. Of course, as to be expected, those who got ready and went about their days had higher levels of well-being, attractiveness, confidence, in comparison to those who, even some reported in like summary boxes that they did their makeup, they felt good, but then they went on social media and scrolled and thought, but I don't look like that, and it directly impacted how they felt about themselves. How many likes? I think people put stuff on social media to get the likes and the validation from other people. Yeah, it's like dopamine hit, they like me, it's validation. So the task is, which I want everyone to engage in, is restructuring negative self-talk. So the aim is to reinterpret the situation. So I want you to describe a situation in which you often tend to negatively self-talk about yourself. So I do tend to avoid looking at my thighs in the mirror. I don't like that part of my body. It's one of the reasons why I joined the gym. I wanted to get fit and tone up and all that. And every time I sort of like will catch myself, I don't know, I put myself down. And I think it comes from as well, I remember when I was doing Dancing on Ice and someone had made a comment about that I had chunky legs for such a small person, and for someone who's battled anorexia as well, it's like,
even that word chunky,
yeah, it I don't know, I tend to self-deprecate, and it's...
So what are some of the words you think of if you look in the mirror?
Ugly. Like, I think sometimes I look at myself and be like, oh yeah, you know, you're looking in better shape, but I've got cellulite, and which is it's actually slowly diminishing now I've been working out, but
and it's also completely normal, especially in females.
I know, and it is completely normal, but you know, I've got cellulite, like, you know, I kind of want my bum a bit lifted, you know, and it is aesthetic, but it's how I feel about myself. And you get people saying, oh, you haven't, and I think, stop telling me I haven't when I know that I have. I'd rather say, well, it's normal, like, again, I've got it,
yeah.
Well, I've got it. You know.
Okay, so you've described the situation. Now I want you to list some positives, some beneficial statements that you can use to replace this negative self-talk when you do look in the mirror, but they have to be meaningful to you. So I could give you words, but
no, it's fine. I already know. I already have started doing it because I have to, because this is all part of like loving yourself and loving your body, and I've been doing it recently. So I do look in the mirror now, and because I've been working hard for myself and I can see changes, I've been looking, going, okay, there's a bit of cellulite there, but it's okay, it's mine. And the fact that, you know, I am looking at myself that way and not calling myself fat anymore. And I need to, you know...
saying your bum was getting bigger.
I know, but I
look at it.
But that's muscle. Like, I don't think, oh, I've got a fat bum. Whereas like, years ago it used to be got a fat bum, but now I'm creating muscle. It's looking a bit more defined. And yes, I still have cellulite, and it's not as bad as it was. And I just think, well, no, keep going, Steph. Keep on working on yourself, because you might never ever be totally happy with it. But it's fine because it's you, and if you love it, then someone else will love it too. So,
just to recall that, you've gone from saying, look all that cellulite, to, wow, like, there's a little bit there, but I'm owning it, it's mine. And
I felt
also
like I had to, yeah.
And also, the word you said before, ugly, in comparison to, no, I'm working on myself, I'm building this body that I want, and there is some changes there. I'm happy with the process. So
it's very hard to do, but
yeah.
I'm doing it.
Task 3, identify words or thoughts you can use to help you stop the negative thoughts. So identifying words is more so if you think that word's coming in like, oh my gosh, look at all that cellulite, you quickly rechange it to cellulite is normal.
Yeah.
I have some, but it is normal.
Yeah.
So it's like that quick change of how I see it.
I think it's also as well, like, it's not just that, but you know, I think anything like when, you know, I'm getting older, or if I see like, you know, or I get spots, or I don't know, I can see the changes in my face, and you know, it does get me down a little bit, but then I've had to look at myself and go, you're beautiful, you know, like, stop putting yourself down for something that is normal. Like, you are, you know, everybody gets older, everybody changes, and I don't think I try not to think so much about my physical appearance anymore, and I kind of try and work on me as a person, because I think personality and being kind and being generous and being an ear to listen, you know, for someone to listen to, and being a good friend and a loving partner and a loving mother is more important than all of this stuff. So that's what I try and work on now.
I agree. Like, life is a gift, but we do actually have to remember that. Okay, so that was task 1. I think we've covered a lot today. I hope you get involved in the task, and I'll put the details of it in the description.
And all the statistics as well. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah,
to
I'll always
list all
link
those
the research. The research will always get linked. That's just when you try and plagiarise an exam. I will always list the research. The research will always be linked.
Oh, Oh, do you know what? I mean, this has been a bit of a different style from our other videos, but I do feel like it was so important for us to leave the banter in the gym and to do this somewhere a bit more personal. We are, been talking about some difficult topics, but I do feel a lot better. I do feel like I might have a little cry when I get home, but I think they're going to be, it's going to be a nice, good cry of relief. So we will be back next week with a special guest. So we will see you then, and thank you so much for watching. And remember, be kind and look after your own mental health.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't. Bye for now.
Bye.